Show. It is May 14th, 2021, and I am here with my patriotic partner, Rob Reilly. How you doing, Rob?
I'm doing great, Mel. How are you today?
Well, I'm pretty good. It's a nice sunny day out. We know the CDC has finally told the truth, and you don't need masks inside or outside, except for Cuomo decides, nope, not New York. New York, we're going to stick with masks no matter what. We're going to stick with all the plans to the one world government and the smart cities that Cuomo is clearly involved in. And
Well, and Biden came out and he said, either get the shot or wear the
oh
mask.
my God, what a
That was
dictator.
that was unbelievable.
Yeah, I just want to remind our audience that I'm sure knows the vaccine is experimental. It is only for emergency use. Anyone mandating this vaccine is violating the Nuremberg laws of forcing people, mandating humans to take a experimental, non-tested, not FDA approved vaccine. We keep hearing people talking about they can't go back to work, can't go back to school. All of this is illegal. It is not, it's against our civil rights and our human rights. And people need to really start questioning that and pushing back. It is also, the masks are, if you look them up, these masks are medical devices. Again, can't be forced. We are willingly giving up our civil rights and our rights endowed by our creator as well
But to be fair, if someone has a job and their employer gives them a threat, I mean, what do people do then? I mean, I guess, at some point you have to stand and resist. If you have the resources, you may need, legal representation. You may need to change what you do. We're in really difficult times and people are going to be making choices. We just want them to make informed choices and understand that, this is a war and we are fighting against an unseen evil. And, we have to, step up at certain times. Some people can and some people can't. We understand that. But we all need to make informed decisions as we go through this process. And I think one of the things we wanted to talk about today is kind of just do a little situation analysis on where we are with Israel, because it's such a big topic. And I know that, Mel, you've done a lot of work over the years on Israel, and it's a really important topic for you. So there's a lot of misinformation out there, both historically and currently. So
yeah.
Also, we're trying something a little bit new. It's a sidecar Rob today. So we're sitting together here. We're sharing a mic, and we're just trying to create a little bit of a different dynamic and see how that goes as we kind of move to different platforms and trying different things as we expand, our different ways to reach you guys. So, we'll be interested to hear how it goes.
Right. And we're just really going to just go through real quick my thoughts and some historical stuff about Israel. What I do want to say flat out is that Joe Biden's administration is complicit in what is happening in Israel 110%. In our last stimulus bill, if everyone wasn't aware, they gave $235 million to the Palestinian Authority, which is run by Hamas. Hamas is a full-on terrorist organization that just yesterday, the head of Hamas, who interestingly enough is still allowed on Twitter, though President Trump has been banned somehow. But they thanked the, what are they calling them? The resistance access of the Islamic Republic of Iran for the weapons that they are using and shooting into Israel. So if that's of confusion to anyone that Joe Biden financed this, then you'll have to do your homework on this, because this is absolutely true. And it's our taxpayer dollars out of the stimulus that they passed when Joe Biden got into office.
Yeah, that's a really important point, because consider that we all as taxpayers have funded this exercise, this aggression against the state of Israel. So, that should make everyone pretty pissed off. The other thing is to remember is that Biden the administration is loosening sanctions on Iran.
Well, according to Iran, they already did. But according to Biden and his full White House, they have not. Whatever the case may be, we do know about the 400 million of our money from the judgment fund, which should be gone and examined. We need to know where all that money from the judgment fund, which is really a coffer for the Congress to get themselves out of trouble when they are sued for sexual harassment and other things. And Obama used that judgment fund to pay Iran basically to continue their terrorist activities. The Iranian people, for those who don't realize, are living in a complete totalitarian regime. They deserve freedom. They've been asking for our help for years. I've gotten many emails from people in Iran devastated about the theft of our election because they were counting on and praying that Donald Trump would be the one to bring peace to the Middle East and eradicate the terrorist regimes that are wreaking such havoc on all of our religions, Jewish, Christian, and Muslim. And the truth of the matter is that the Abrahamic Accords were the best case scenario for all parties involved, and I believe war is the sign to me that this is a war between good and evil and God and Satan, pretty much.
I
And
mean, think about this. Not too long ago, like how many months, we had basically historic peace in the Middle
for
East.
the Middle East.
Yeah, and there was no aggression. There was, a real light at the end of the tunnel, and in such a dramatic fashion, this changed
In 100 days.
Yeah, it's extraordinary, and so it's almost like people forget. But I think what we're here to do is remind, our listeners and everyone out there that this is a remarkable turn. And in my mind, I think, maybe we're seeing something. We've always talked about, maybe this is a show, and when I say a show or a movie, I don't mean a good one, but maybe we need to see what we're seeing. See this destruction, you know, kind of built in front of us with these certain architects of evil, and so that we can see how evil and deep this swamp is. So I don't know, what do you think about that? Do you think?
Well, I think for people that don't understand the significance and the Abrahamic Accords and why they're called that and what it was about, I just want to say it was absolutely brilliant. And it's something that the warmongers that created this situation and continue to fund it and push it from the deep state and the cabal for all the wars that make them billions of dollars at the expense of free and innocent human lives all over the world. The Abrahamic Accords were based on Abraham from the Bible.
Shared values, basically.
No,
right?
no, they're based on the historic truth that Abraham had is the father of Muslims, Christians, and Jews. The Abrahamic religion, the Abrahamic background is Ishmael, Isaac, Jacob, Abraham, and it brought it together that all of us are really cousins at the end of the day, and a lot of this stuff has been manipulated. But I'll tell you who did notice and is very excited. The Muslim Brotherhood put out a statement thanking the Democrats in the U.S. for supporting their destruction of the Jews in Israel. As we know, Barack Obama, Valerie Jarrett, Uma Abedin, John Kerry, Brennan, Peter Strzok, Lisa Page, Samantha Powers, Susan Rice, they're all good pals with the Muslim Brotherhood. The Muslim Brotherhood is a full-on terrorist organization to the rest of the world, but to the Obama administration, they consider them partners and friends. And the truth of the matter is that Ilhan Omar, Rashida Tlaib, and the rest of them are all basically traitors. They are funded and backed by the Muslim Brotherhood. They were placed in our country to cause division. And now they are out there cheering on Hamas, a terrorist organization fully funded by the Iranian Islamic regime that imprisons their own people. And now Hezbollah, which completely controls Lebanon right now, and Hamas completely controls Palestinian territory. The truth of the matter is that there have been 3 times that Israel has agreed to have a Palestinian state, which there never has been, by the way. But they did agree to it. And all 3 times, the Palestinian Authority, led by the terrorist regime of Hamas and others, PLO before that, rejected it, saying that they didn't want a 2-state solution. They want Israel off the map and all Jews dead. So anyone who doesn't get that that's the truth needs to do some homework. As for the people in our Democratic Party who are out there cheering this on, I say we take a real good look at them. They've been pushing back against Marjorie Taylor Greene and Lauren Boebert and all these people that love America and are standing up for America, while we have watched the squad, including AOC, Presley, this new Cori Bush, who seems to be the worst of them all so far in terms of hating America and anyone that's not aligned with her narrative. These five women are basically doing Hamas's dirty work in America. And again, Twitter and Facebook have allowed the people from Hamas and the Iranian regime, which are both terror regimes, to continue to speak as they wish on their platforms while banning General Flynn and Sidney Powell and our President Trump, and many others, including me. And I just need to say that what we are seeing there, just for people that don't really understand the geography over there, Israel is the size of New Jersey. Okay? Israel is the size of New Jersey. So please understand that. When Israel was established, it was barren desert. The Israelis built kibbutz and grew Israel from nothing to what it is today, which is pretty much tantamount to any American city and suburbs. And it is filled with amazing people who have worked really hard, Christian Jews and Arabs. And the truth of the matter is that within Israel's border, there was a lot of regular peace. What happened is, as soon as Biden released the money to the Palestinians, this is 2 weeks ago when they started bombing Israel. Nobody reported on it. Rob and I did a week and a half ago that they were bombing Israel. So far, they've lobbed 2,000 rockets into Israel, into suburbs and towns, and and within Israel, they've called to arms their Palestinian loyal factions who have been burning down synagogues, burning down Jewish businesses. This is all a fact. Whatever Rashida Tlaib and Muslim Brotherhood, and I see them marching in Farrakhan's district in Chicago and around our country, are universities, as they were infiltrated by the Chinese, and the Confucius Institute and the Thousand Talents groups and all of that were also infiltrated by CARE, Muslim Brotherhood, and BDS. So we have college campuses with students who believe socialism, Maoism, and Stalinism is the way to go for America, marching and condemning Israel.
Well, the deep state, they really want a war. And, this is a place where they can foment that war. And so as much, I believe, a lot of these players are pawns in their big game of trying to get to that great reset. It always comes back to the great reset. How do we destabilize the planet enough that people will welcome the one world order government and ruling?
Right. And also to understand a little better, the Palestinian territory is run by Hamas under Sharia law. The women do not have rights. The children are not educated. The children are born into rigorous training to be terrorists. They are taught from cartoons on, as people have seen that have looked, that their whole goal in life is to kill Jews and destroy Israel. It's really sick and sad. And if the women and the mothers in the Palestinian territory put their children and their futures ahead of this irrational, ancient, upside down hatred, and looked forward and looked at the Abrahamic Accords, which really were saying to all these territories, this is beautiful land. Israel is a beautiful country, as all of them are over there. It's just an incredible landscape. And what Trump and his team did with the Abrahamic Accords was propose an idea, like with North Korea, that if they got rid of the terrorists, Hamas, Hezbollah, and the Iranian regime that runs them, and agreed to a peaceful solution, that they could help them build up their infrastructure, and they would be able to have a thriving economy, a thriving tourism business, that beautiful land over there. They would have.
No, and don't forget, Trump is a developer and a business builder. So,
it was part of the whole thing.
Yeah, you had talked about that with me very early on when this was coming together.
Yeah.
And how, maybe Jared had gone out and reached out to a lot of, kind of younger, middle age leaders in those territories and say, hey, what are you guys doing? Let's build resorts and commerce and tourism.
Yeah. And also he also reached out to the Western educated people that are Palestinian or loyal to the Palestinians, to kind of say, let's do common sense reform. The one caveat was getting rid of the terrorists. Well, now that the Obama regime is back in power and all the same players are back, that is no longer the case. Obama very early on made it very clear that he is anti-Semitic. And all the people in his regime, don't tell me that the head of the ADL or any of these people are Jews, so they're not against Israel. It's not true. The CARE and Muslim Brotherhood had an open revolving door in the in the Obama regime, and Valerie Jarrett is 100% loyal to Iran, the Iranian regime, and the Muslim Brotherhood, as is Uma Abedin. So, and it doesn't matter who they marry or what they play. They have one goal and one goal only, and they continue to follow that path. On the other side, if New Jersey was being bombed with 2,000 missiles, would you suggest that America stand down and let them destroy innocent human beings all over? What we're hearing from people in Israel is they're in bomb shelters underneath their houses now for days. And the truth of the matter is, this is a manufactured war. America, the Biden administration, Blinken, and all of them paid for this. And these women in Congress, this squad, I don't know at what point the American people are going to say enough's enough. But when we have the Muslim Brotherhood putting out a press release thanking the Democratic Party in America for their support in attacking Israel. And also,
that's a really interesting point, because I actually had a conversation with my mother actually yesterday, and there are a lot of Jewish people that are pretty left leaning and have voted for Biden, and are this is a big red pill for them, because this is a lot of the Jewish people in America, they may not be particularly religious or whatnot, but they do have a real connection to the state, because they know what happened to their ancestors, and they know that Israel was a little bit of a place where they could go and be safe, and they see that, and they have family there. I know a lot of people that have family there. And this is a major, major red pill. They just do not accept this as being okay in any way.
I have a different feeling about a lot of American Jews that vote liberal and voted for Biden and hated Trump and all of that.
No, but this moment right now, which is happening, I believe people are seeing that for what it is.
But the news isn't reporting that in our stimulus bill was the money that paid for the weapons that are now killing innocent people. And by the way, if people don't understand how Hamas works, they put their weapons and their militants and all of that in neighborhoods, in schools, in hospitals. They know that when Israel retaliates, that's where they are. And this is on purpose, because they don't care about killing their own people even more than they don't care about killing Israelis or Jews. But a religious war in 2021, what are we dealing with here? We are dealing with people that pretend in front of the camera that they live like Bedouins, and they wear their outfits and all the things. Guess what? The Iranian regime are billionaires. When Arafat went down, we found out he was a multi-billionaire. The money that we're sending to the Palestinians is not going to the Palestinian people. It never has. And also, you don't have the right to be anything but Hamas controlled. Now, something did happen a while ago that Rob and I discussed that I didn't really make the news. Abbas, who has been somehow running the Palestinian territory on the wide scale, and his anti-Semitic UN partnerships, he was about to run for election for the first time in 15 years, because people were calling him a dictator, whatever. So when Biden got in, he was going to run for election. Well, he found out that because of the stronghold the terrorist regime of Hamas has on the Palestinian territory, and for the last 20 years, they've been raising children for two reasons: one, to procreate women, and one, to be warriors and soldiers to kill Jews, boys. They realized that Abbas would lose in a legitimate election to Hamas, sadly enough. That tells you everything you need to know. So Abbas canceled the election, right, and pushed it back. This is only a couple of weeks ago.
Right.
So if you don't think that all of this is connected, then the other thing is, don't forget what happened last year in Lebanon. Lebanon is also controlled by an Iranian terrorist branch, Hezbollah, which is even more vicious than Hamas and has more power in the Iranian terror regime, just like the Houthis. That right when Biden came in, he declassified the Houthis as a terrorist regime, and now they are tearing apart Yemen again. But this is all by design. They needed a war. The petrodollar is dying. The U.S. dollar is dying, and the truth of the matter is, innocent people in all of these territories are being slaughtered for no reason other than the deep state puppet masters at the very, very top are allowing this, and they want this.
And their cover story, right? The cover story about the
Oh, right.
the
Total
eviction of the three or four families that were in the territory that
Right.
were,
Yeah, again, propaganda and lies. What really happened in East Jerusalem, and people should, it's very hard to find information. The mainstream media in America is completely on the side of the terrorists, as is our Democratic Party and the squad, who don't belong there. They're all traitors and terrorist supporters backed by CARE and Muslim Brotherhood. But you know what? If the American people are going to let it go on and on with Ilhan Omar and Tlaib and all these people in there, then I guess it's our own fault. But Rob is absolutely correct. What happened is it went through the Israeli court system, which is very advanced. Just Israel is very similar to America. Don't kid yourself. They're not living in tents. They're not. I mean, it's crazy. When you go to Israel, it's like being in New Jersey for real. And other than the amazing antiquities and the sacred places that all Jews, Christians, and Muslims should be able to visit at any time at their will without fear of terrorism or attacks. But unfortunately, Jews, Christians, and Muslims are unable to travel freely in the Middle East because nobody seems to want to deal with Iranian terror, Hezbollah, and Muslim Brotherhood and Hamas.
it's almost like
If they just excised the terrorist regimes, all of us could go to Israel, Iran, Jordan, Egypt, all of these sacred places that mean so much in the Torah and in the Bible and in the Quran. All of these places should be freely able to be visited by all humans on this planet that believe in God and want to visit their sacred places. And we can't because nobody wants to take out the terrorist regime.
I think one way to think about some of these hotspots globally, whether it's North Korea or the Middle East, is that they're like little tinderboxes for the deep state. They keep them warm, they keep them unstable. And when they need to have a diversion or to kick off a war, which is all about power and money, then it's pretty easy to light up.
Yeah. Also, I mean, I've talked many times. Anyone who followed my BitChute knows that I had to stop the comments because they're incredibly anti-Semitic to the most disgusting level you could ever see in your lives. And I've been very concerned with the anti-Semitism going on in both the truther community and in general. But doesn't matter. The people that live in Israel, okay, are people that have families. They work. They want life, liberty, the pursuit of happiness, and they are no different than we are, and they are innocent in this. They are as innocent as we are when it comes to the CIA and all these operations, these color revolutions all over the world that our country is complicit in. And to this death to the Jews going on all over America and with these people, yeah, there is a difference between being against Israel's politics and hating Jews, but there's not a difference to the terrorists. And that is the fact. They're not fighting for the Palestinian land. They could have had it multiple times.
Let's just, so here's an interesting thing to think about is that we had heard from the back channel that Israel would be last, number one, which is kind of interesting. You know, that's not a big thing that we follow, but it is an interesting data point that this kicked off, basically in concert and financed by and supported by our new administration and us. Okay. Big red pill that people are seeing, in my opinion. You also have the fact that now hopefully the white hat Israelis military, which is very, very effective and capable, is now dismantling some really evil components within that region for good reason, but at the same time, it is happening. So if you look at how the events are actually playing out and what's really happening, again, we are in a war, and there are there are consequences and there are casualties, but it's kind of, the timing is all really interesting, and the actual results are it makes me think, what are we actually seeing here?
Yeah, and I mean, for anyone that's looking at all of this and doesn't understand the dynamics, the truth is, if we saw 2,000 rockets rain down on New Jersey, would the American people say, "Well, don't do anything, just hold back"? It's completely insane, and the only reason that this has gone on so long, the truth is because Israel was respecting America. Well, Israel is very well aware of what happened in our election. They do
So
not
so we,
respect the Biden regime. They know who they are. They know what they are. This is Obama 3.0. A lot of people, including Rick Grenell, say that Susan Rice is running this operation, whether she is or isn't. Having Muslim Brotherhood loyalists in our government now for all this time that are back in office, it's not a surprise at all. And
so
bigger than that, I think, is maybe it's time. Maybe this is part of the alliance plan, and they are going to get rid of these terrorist organizations that run these territories. The people of Lebanon deserve to be free. Okay, the people of Iran deserve to be free. The people of the Palestinian territory had the opportunity over and over, and this is all about this terrorist, evil terrorist regime that wants innocent people dead for no reason other than crazy ideology that we don't even allow in America.
I think it's an interesting point you brought up, which is that, and I think it could easily be missed, is that what you're saying is that the Israeli military had held off, basically taking care of the issue in the region for whatever reason. You're saying that it's because there was more respect for our government. Maybe that's the case. Maybe there were other issues at play. But now that basically you've talked about geopolitically that a lot of players are going around the U.S. and the UN and the EU
and NATO, which really is the one world government, UN forces. But also, the truth is, the rest of the world knows what happened in our election. They don't have any respect. They know that Biden isn't a legitimate president. He didn't win the election. People can keep playing along as they want with mainstream media and the powers that be, but the people in Israel know what's going on, and so does all of the Middle East. And I know that Egypt and Qatar already tried to get involved, and Israel said not this time. And I agree with this, not this time. Enough's enough. 2,000 rockets into a territory filled with 6 million innocent people, children, families that are defending themselves. And again, if America is going to continue to allow these anti-Semitic, disgusting Muslim Brotherhood loyalists who hate America to serve in our Congress, then then it's our fault. What is wrong with us that these people have a voice?
There's another player that we haven't mentioned much here, but he's been in the spotlight quite a bit, and that's John Kerry, where we know that he's been shadowing Trump. He's
very loyal to the Iranian regime.
And why? Maybe
he committed treason and violated the Logan Act the entire time that Trump was in office, telling Iran to wait because they were going to get rid of Trump no matter what and go back into the Iran deal. I know a bunch of GOP guys came out and told them to stop negotiating with Iran, that Iran is behind this and all of that. Of course, the 400 million plus multiple billions that Barack Obama funneled into the terrorist regimes also is paying for this. And I wouldn't be surprised if the rest of the world backed away. As far as the United Nations, everyone that watches me knows I think they're 100% the one world government plant, that they care nothing about humanity or freedom. They are all for the Great Reset. They are all for the destruction of Israel and Jews. The United Nations should have been done away with a long time ago. The Rockefellers installed it into America for their 100-year plan for us to cede our sovereignty and have their one world government with their 10 nation states. And it's playing out in front of our eyes because we allowed propaganda, lies, and a disgusting media to manipulate our country into believing lies about ourselves. And
The interesting thing is that it's playing out so boldly and so quickly that it's not able to be hidden. A lot of these things have been going on for decades, and they kind of happen subtly, and they're given some an explanation that you could kind of believe, and then it's supported by the media. But now we're getting hit with this avalanche, of just extraordinary events that are just flooding us every day. And I think people are seeing it for what it is. I know that my own personal experience, I'm having those conversations, or I'm hearing people that I know very well are having those kind of experiences every day. And it could be, as this is a big one. It could be as simple as the mask and some of the ridiculous stuff that's going on with that, and many, many other things. So I'm personally very excited. I think everything is moving in the right direction. But this Israel situation is a major situation, and it deserves the attention and understanding.
Well, the understanding, it is not Israel that's the aggressor here. Just like our media it's don't tell me the media is run by Jews, because who cares? That's not the truth. And beyond that, the truth of the matter is there is a terrorist organization that has been allowed to thrive, and the Obama administration and Biden administration have given them tons of money to do exactly that: terrorize our planet and keep us, Jews, Christians, and Muslims, from freely visiting all of these places that are sacred to us, keeping them under this ugly situation for all these years. And maybe it's time to end it. And I am 100% behind Israel doing whatever they have to do, not just to protect themselves, but to change what's happening in that region. The hope for the Abrahamic Accords was that as people got opportunity, that they would turn against these regimes. And as we're seeing, the Iraqis have also started to say that they believe that the Iranians will abandon them.
Yeah, I was an interesting data point that I heard the other day, that Iraqi some force had moved on the Iranian embassy. Is that
they're separating themselves from the Iranians, because the Iraqis, some of the Iraqis and some of the factions have been interacting cooperatively with the Iranians, but they're getting to the point where the Iraqis now realize that they're just as disposable as everyone else. There's also talk that Khomeini might have cancer or something's with that. They have an election coming up there. We have Ahmadinejad jumping back on stage, saw today. Yeah. So the truth of the matter is that this is God's war, and that is God's land. And for anyone that doesn't understand, 2,000 years ago, the Romans kicked the Jews out of their homeland, which is Israel. And since then, we've been told a whole bunch of lies. The Ottoman Empire is completely left out of our history. The British control of the area left out of our history. What really happened to the territory in Israel, out of our history. Nobody seems to know that the Jews that settled there built Israel from a barren desert to what it is today, which is a thriving metropolis with amazing suburbs and growth and amazing hospitals and colleges and human beings from all walks of life: Jews, Christians, Muslims, black, white, all kinds of people live in Israel. The caricature that we see is not right and not real. And again, if you guys would be okay with New Jersey being hit with 2,000 missiles, and the America sitting by and saying, okay, whatever, then fine. Then you're not. Then that's your choice. But if you would be up in arms and demanding that we fight back, then take a thought about that. The Jewish people have nothing to do with this situation. This is a powder keg that was built a long time ago. There are two factions in Israel, as there are everywhere else, including in America. And the majority of the people in Israel are good, God-loving people who just want life, liberty, the pursuit of happiness, and to raise their family and worship as they wish, as we all on this planet, given by God, deserve to be doing.
And that's the path we're on, right?
Yeah. And we just wanted to jump in and talk about Israel, because it's hard to counter when the entire mainstream media is supporting lies, and that these congresswomen run free reign as spokespeople for Hamas, and the UN is completely a joke. The UN should be removed from our country ASAP, God willing, when we get back to sanity, and it's all figured out that this was all a complete and total treasonous coup in America, placing Joe Biden wherever he is right now. I hope that we really consider getting rid of the United Nations and refusing to deal with anyone who's sponsoring terrorism, most of all, Iran. And I pray for the Iranian people. They are the ones who deserve to be free. They have for decades. They are in this mess by no choice of their own. And the IRGC and the Islamic regime are holding them hostage. The Iranian people are good people, and this is not their fault, and they deserve freedom, just like the Israelis deserve freedom, and the good Palestinians deserve freedom, and the people of Lebanon deserve freedom and to rule themselves. And all of these terrorist organizations, it is time for them to go. And that's why we think it's biblical. And that's why we think maybe they saved Israel for last. It's time to get these terrorists off our planet and to allow humanity to roam freely wherever they choose, especially to their sacred sites all over the Middle East that have been blocked from all of us over irrational, insane terrorist organizations. And the Biden regime should be held accountable, as should